Myself, Mrs. Nympha Mascarenhas, your biology lecturer. So dear students, you all know that we have been dealing with chapter number 5, that is morphology of flowering plants. So in my previous videos, you have been studied about different parts of a flowering plant. Okay, so you all know that a typical flowering plant consists of, or a typical flower consists of 4 whorls. Okay, of which there are 2 accessory whorls and 2 reproductive whorls, right? So here we can say that there are 2 essential whorls, right? The reproductive whorls which are present, those can be called as essential whorls, because without the reproduction a flower cannot be exhibited. Okay, that's why these are very essential for a flower, and that's why the reproductive whorls can be called as essential whorls. Whereas coming back to the non-essential whorls, these can be called as accessory whorls. Okay, these are the basic requirement a flower requires. Okay, for the protection, for the well support. So for this they require accessory whorls, and the accessory whorls can be also called as non-essential whorls. So here we can get as accessory whorls and reproductive whorls. Okay, accessory whorls we get calyx and corolla. Whereas coming back to the reproductive whorls, we get androecium and gynoecium. Right? So we have basically 4 whorls which are intact towards the base, that is called as thalamus or receptacle. Okay, and all these parts, thalamus, receptacle, calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium, are attached to the base called as pedicel. And then pedicel further is attached to a base called as peduncle. So you have to be very familiar with the words called as peduncle, and the floral axis is called as pedicel. Pedicel consists of thalamus or receptacle, the swollen part of the thalamus. Okay, and then the sideways it consists of calyx. Above it consists of corolla. Corolla can be also called as petals, and then we get the essential parts. Those are called as reproductive units of the flower, that is androecium and gynoecium. Okay, so on the basis of position of these whorls, okay, how the whorls are attached, where is the position of ovary, where is the position of stamens, okay, on the basis of all the position of 4 different whorls, a flower can be called as hypogynous flower, perigynous flower and epigynous flower. Hypogynous flower, we see that hypo in the sense everything is limited downwards. Okay, we heard about 4 different whorls, those are calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium. Over here, hypogynous, all the different parts, calyx, corolla and androecium, are faced downwards or are placed downwards, whereas only the gynoecium, that is the female part, ovary, is placed superior. Okay, so ovary is superior and rest all other parts are inferior to ovary, and that's why we refer to them as superior gynoecium or hypogynous flower. And then coming back to perigynous flower, we saw that perigynous flower can be also called as half inferior ovary, because the position of the ovary in the middle, okay, ovary and the calyx are somewhat equal in position, but not almost equal. Okay, somewhat equal in position, that's why we say half inferior ovary. Okay, because it is somewhat lower in position, that's why we call half inferior ovary. And then coming back to epigynous flower, we say ovary is inferior in nature over here. Okay, inferior in the sense means that the calyx which is present, okay, the pedicel consists of thalamus or receptacle, and the thalamus or receptacle leads to calyx. The calyx over here are fused together. Okay, this fusion leads to the formation of inferior ovary, because ovary is situated in the middle, of which the calyx surrounds the ovary. That's why we call them as epigynous flower or inferior ovary position or inferior gynoecium position. Okay, so this is all about different flowers which we see, okay, on the basis of position of different parts of flower. Okay, different parts in the sense basically we focus on essential part, that is reproductive part, because these are very essential for a plant. Without reproduction, the progeny is not continued, right? That's why these are very essential parts, that is androecium and gynoecium. So on the basis of position of ovary or position of different parts of the plant, parts of a flower, we can call a flower as hypogynous flower where gynoecium is superior, perigynous flower where half inferior gynoecium is seen, and epigynous flower where inferior gynoecium is seen. So this is about the previous video which we have been studied. So now we can move to our next video, that is we can study all the typical parts of a flower which are present and what are the functions, how they are present, what are the different positions in them. So we'll look into my further part of the video, what are the different parts of a flower. So coming back to the next further part of my video, you can see a beautiful flower over here. Okay, and this is a compulsion question for you on the NCERT point of view, because you have to draw a typical flower. Okay, different parts of a flower, how it looks, and apart from this is very compulsion for you because it will be very helpful for you to analyze where are the different parts situated in a flower. Okay, so when we studied, we saw that a flower consists of 4 folds: calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium. So here we can mark this one is the calyx. Okay, this is the pedicel, the stem-like structure which moves towards the floral axis, which gives rise to different floral arrangement, is called as pedicel. Okay, and the swollen center part is called as thalamus or receptacle. Okay, and then this thalamus or receptacle leads to the wing-like structure in different parts. Okay, it might be either 4 in number, it might be either 5 in number. So here on the basis of them, okay, you call them as calyx. Okay, calyx are situated just because they can give a thorough protection for the flower to bloom. Right, we see good blooming flowers, and here to bloom they need protection. They need a strong support system at the base, and that's why calyx are present. Okay, and calyx leads to different beautiful highly colored or highly pigmented structures called as corolla. Okay, commonly corolla can also be called as petals over here, and these are the colored part of a flower which we see. Okay, and the colored part, the petals which we call, they are scientifically called as corolla. And then moving back to the female part, okay, the female reproductive part over here consists of ovary, okay, which is enclosed in ovule and stigma. Okay, here this can be called as gynoecium. And then also we have male parts, that is called as androecium. Androecium in turn consists of anther and filament. Okay, it consists of a stalk leads to a filament, and filament consists of pollen sacs with innate consist of the pollen grains. So here these all structure can be called as anther. Okay, so these all structures are present in a typical flower if a flower is bisexual. Okay, this is a bisexual flower which I have drawn on the board because it consists of both androecium and gynoecium in it. Okay, so there are 2 kinds of flower, one is bisexual and other is unisexual. It is not a must that all the flowers must consist of all these different structures. Okay, just as a basis point of view, we can take a flower can be bisexual, okay, or else it can be unisexual. Bisexual flowers, and I hope we have seen hibiscus. Okay, hibiscus are bisexual flowers which consist of both male and female reproductive organs in it. Whereas a unisexual flower can also consist of either male gamete or the female gamete. Okay, so this is about the flower which can be either bisexual or unisexual flower. So these are the different parts of the flower which you can observe. So moving back to the different parts, we can first study about calyx. So we all know that there are 4 parts: calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium. Very good. So now we will move to the first part which is called as calyx. Calyx we have taken first because it is the outermost part. Either we have to discuss the diagram of biology from outermost to innermost, or else elaborate or you have to explain. Either start from the arrangement from outer to inward, or else start from inward to outward. See, do not shuffle or do not mix up the parts, because you are just mixing up the diagram which is on the board. Okay, either you have to start from calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium, or else start from gynoecium, androecium, corolla and calyx. Okay, make sure that you will maintain the symmetry of the arrangement of different organs in biology. That's why whenever you are explaining a diagram, okay, so keep one thing in mind, that you have to move from either outermost part towards the innermost part, or else innermost part towards the outermost part. Okay, I should begin with outermost to innermost, which means I should say about calyx first, corolla, then androecium and gynoecium. Okay, you can take as you wish. You can take it from either inner to outer or outer to inner. Okay, so we'll begin with the first outermost part, that is calyx. Okay, like I have told you, calyx is the outermost part which is found in a flower. It is green in color, it is leaf-like structure, so it is situated outside. Okay, and here calyx are present, or calyx are born just to give protection for the flowers when they are in the bud stage. So you know there are different stages in flower. There is bud stage, there is half blooming stage, and there is the bloomed adult stage. Okay, so here these give protection for the flower when they are in bud stage, because they enclose the flower. Okay, calyx encloses the flower when it is in bud, so that the innermost part which are present, they are not harmed at all. That's why it gives protection to the flower. So based on this, okay, based on the calyx are either united or either free. Okay, united in the sense we know that there will be either 5 calyx or 4 calyx, which you can see. So here, if the calyx are united like this, okay, if the calyx are united, then they can be called as gamosepalous. Okay, because we know the unit of calyx is called as sepals. Okay, the other name for calyx is called as sepals, because the unit, one single calyx is called as sepals. Okay, it is the unit of calyx. So that's why if all the sepals are fused together, okay, if all the calyx are fused together, then we call it as gamosepalous. Okay, if the calyx or the sepals are not fused, they are free. Okay, like in case of, okay, like this, if they are free, then we can call it as polysepalous. Is it clear? If all the calyx or sepals are fused together or united together, we refer the term called as gamosepalous. Okay, gamo in the sense fused. And then if they are free, if they are not united, then we use the term called as polysepalous. Is it clear? So this is about the calyx. Okay, by the visualization, just I request you that take a flower in your hand and sit to understand different parts of a flower when you are at home. Okay, you can see that the outermost part, a leaf-like or blade-like structure, is called as calyx. Okay, calyx consists of units of arrangement called as sepals. Okay, and here these are green in color, these are leaf-like structures, but these are not leaf. Okay, and they are just present just to give the protection for the flowers when they are in bud stage. Okay, and on the basis of their united form or the free form, we can say it may be either gamosepalous or it may be either polysepalous. Gamosepalous means that sepals are fused or they are united, whereas polysepalous means that sepals are free. Okay, this is all about calyx. So we'll move to the next part of the flower, that is called as corolla. Okay, corolla are highly pigmented structures. They are highly colored. Okay, you get varieties of colors of flower. Okay, these variety of colors of flowers are attained due to pigmentation. And generally, make sure that, okay, these are composed of petals. Okay, we saw that calyx consists of singular unit called as sepals, whereas corolla consists of the unit of arrangement called as petals. Okay, petals are of varying size and varying position over here. I'll tell you further. Okay, so here make sure you will remember one thing: petals or corolla highly in color. You get varieties of beautiful colors, and those are all due to coloration of corolla. Okay, and take one thing in mind that the corolla or petals are brightly colored just because to attract the pollinators towards them. Okay, colors in case of flowers is attained just to attract pollinators. Okay, pollinators over here, like I have told you, you can take the example of honeybee. Okay, what honeybee does is it goes every day and just carries the pollens from different flower. Okay, when it carries pollens, the pollens from its pollen bag fall off and the fertilization takes place for the flower. Okay, it is very helpful for the flower. That's why the flowers are very brightly in color when they are ready or when they are in adult stage, just to attract pollinators towards them. Okay, so this is the beautiful evolution which has taken place between pollinators and flowers. Okay, I hope you can make out, I hope you can understand how fertilization takes place in case of a flower. Okay, and coming back to the different sepals. Okay, if the sepals are fused together, then they can be called as gamopetalous. Okay, so here we can say that if the petals are not at all fused, if they are free, we can call them as polypetalous. Okay, is it clear? Like we have seen in case of calyx, if the sepals are fused, we can call them as gamosepalous. If the sepals are free, we can call them as polysepalous. In the same way, when we come for the corolla, okay, the unit of arrangement is petals. When the petals are fused, we can call them as gamopetalous, and when the petals are free, we can call them as polypetalous. Okay, this is about calyx and corolla. Okay, now we'll see about arrangement of calyx and corolla in a flower. Okay, and this typical arrangement of calyx and corolla in a flower is called as aestivation. Okay, like we can go back to the previous thought. Okay, I have referred the word called as phyllotaxy. Okay, I hope you can remember this from one of my video. I have just told you about the word called as phyllotaxy. Okay, make sure phyllotaxy and aestivation are quite different. Phyllotaxy refers to arrangement of leaves on a petiole. Okay, the leaves which are arranged on a petiole is called as phyllotaxy. Whereas when we come for the flower, we can say that aestivation refers to arrangement of calyx and corolla on the floral axis or a floral bud is called as aestivation. Okay, so here a lot more confusion is created. Because we heard the word aestivation, we have also heard this word in case of animal kingdom, right? So we heard about aestivation and hibernation in case of animals. Okay, hibernation is winter sleep. Okay, during the winter season, the animal, what it does, it just goes for the resting period. It sleeps. Okay, all the mechanism into the body, okay, all the different organs are shut down halfly. Because there is only brain and heart which is shut on, but rest of the other organs are shut down because they undergo metabolic process. They reserve their food. Okay, during winter season, that is called as hibernation. And in the same way, aestivation is called as summer sleep. Okay, some of the organisms in case of summer season, they undergo summer sleep. Okay, sleep in the sense means that half of the organs are shut down, wherein they reserve certain food. Okay, and they utilize that reserved food for the body mechanism. Okay, so this is called as aestivation in animals. So we have the similar word over here, the word with same spellings, the word which is pronounced as same. Okay, so do not be confused with this. Aestivation, when it comes for the flowers or when it comes in the plant kingdom, we say that aestivation is the mode of arrangement of sepals, that is calyx, and the petals, that is corolla, on the floral bud, on the floral axis, that is called as aestivation. Whereas in animal kingdom, we define aestivation as summer sleep. Okay, make sure you will not mess up these two words. Okay, I know that the word is same, pronunciation is same, spellings are same, but still function is different when we come for the animal kingdom and plant kingdom. Okay, I repeat it again. In terms of plant, the meaning of the word aestivation is that the arrangement of sepals and petals on the floral bud is termed as aestivation. When coming back to the animal kingdom, these refer that aestivation is called as summer sleep. Is it clear? I hope I have cleared this confusion for you all. Okay, now we can see that aestivation is the mode of arrangement of sepals or petals with respect to other members. Okay, sepals or petals with respect to other members andre we can say essential part, that is androecium and gynoecium. Okay, with respect to other members of the same whole is called as aestivation. Okay, I repeat again. Okay, aestivation is the mode of arrangement of sepals or petals with respect to the members of others. Okay, with respect to other members. Okay, there are 1 sepal, 2 sepal, 4, 5 polysepalous condition also is there. Okay, the arrangement of sepals with respect to other members of the same whole is known as aestivation. Same whole andre arrangement of sepals ಬೇರೆ ಇರ್ತದೆ, arrangement of petals ಬೇರೆ ಇರ್ತಾವ. Okay, that's why arrangement of sepals, arrangement of petals ಏನು ಬರ್ತಾವಲ್ಲ, ಈ arrangement position ನ ನೋಡಿ we can call it as aestivation. Is it clear? Have I cleared my point? Okay. So there are 4 different kinds of aestivation. One is valvate, twisted, imbricate and vexillary. Okay, you get 4 different kinds of aestivation, that is valvate, twisted, then imbricate and vexillary. So I'll deal about aestivation in detail in my further video. You can just be in touch. So here coming back to the next part. Okay, we can see that I have told you about aestivation. Okay, aestivation is the mode of arrangement of sepals or petals, okay, with respect to the other members of present in the same whole is called as aestivation. Okay, so here you need not be confused with this word of aestivation to that of animal word aestivation. Okay, make sure the aestivation in plant kingdom is quite different from aestivation from animals. Okay, so I hope the difference between them is clear with each and every one. Okay, so I have told you there are 4 different kinds of aestivation. Okay, one is valvate, twisted, imbricate and vexillary. So vexillary aestivation is also termed as papilionaceous aestivation. Okay, papilionaceous aestivation or vexillary aestivation. So here we can take the first kind of aestivation, that is called as valvate aestivation. Okay, quite simple and very beautifully you can understand with the help of diagram what is valvate aestivation. Okay, so this is a floral diagram which you can take, okay, for the sepals or petals. Okay, so here you can see that the margin of sepals and petals are reaching to one another without overlapping. Okay, they are just reaching to the margin of other sepal or petal without overlapping, just reaching to one another is called as valvate aestivation. Okay, so valvate aestivation is found in case of Calotropis. Okay, I will show you the diagram over there. Here you can observe in Calotropis how valvate aestivation is found. Okay, so by this we can say that valvate aestivation is the one wherein the sepals or petals just reach towards the periphery of the margin but do not overlap with the sepals towards the next sepal. Okay, one sepal do not overlap the next sepal, that is called as valvate aestivation. Just the sepals or petals reach towards the end or reach towards the periphery to meet each other, okay, but without overlapping. That is called as valvate aestivation. Example is Calotropis. Then coming back to twisted aestivation. Okay, in case of twisted aestivation, we can say in generally one in, one out. Okay, just you can see one in, one out, one in, one out. Because we know that the sepals or petals have 2 ends. Okay, I draw a petal for you all. Okay, so this is a petal. Sorry. Okay, this is a petal. This is one end and this is other end. Okay, so here one end and other end you can take one in, one out. Okay, for twisted aestivation you can take, for example, is in, one is out. Okay, one is in, one is out. In the same way, all the 5 petals, one in, one out mechanism you can apply, and you can say that in twisted aestivation, the margin of one sepal overlap with the margin of other sepal towards one end, whereas the other end is free. It does not overlaps. Okay, so we can say that only one margin overlaps with the margin of other end or the next coming sepal is called as twisted aestivation. So in case of twisted aestivation, we see regular overlapping. Okay, here you can see overlapping is regular. Okay, one is in and other is out, one is in and other is out. So this is kind of regular fashion which we see. Okay, this is kind of regular overlapping which we see. That's why we call it as twisted aestivation. Example, it is found in case of China rose, lady's finger and cotton. Okay, here you can see in case of the flowers of China rose. Okay, commonly it is called as hibiscus. Okay, lady's finger and cotton flowers, you see twisted kind of aestivation. And twisted aestivation is the one wherein one margin of the sepal of petal overlap with the next margin. Okay, and then coming back to imbricate aestivation. Okay, so in case of imbricate aestivation, we see that the aestivation over here is formed by overlapping of the margins irregularly. Okay, in case of twisted we saw regular overlapping, one in, one out. But here, in case of imbricate aestivation, we see the overlapping of the margins is in irregular fashion. Okay, here you can see the both ends are in. Okay, this is in and in. And then we see one out, one in. Here also one out, one in. But the other sepal is out, in, out, out. Okay, here we see this kind of sepal is totally out, this is totally in. So we see there is overlapping in the irregular fashion or irregular manner. So that is called as imbricate aestivation and it is found in Cassia and Gulmohar. Okay, so Cassia and Gulmohar you can beautifully observe. Okay, you can observe in the diagram how Cassia appears, how Gulmohar appears, and you can see beautifully how the imbricate aestivation is formed. Okay, so is it clear? So now moving back to the last part of aestivation, that is called as waxillary aestivation or papilionaceous aestivation. Okay, which is called as waxillary aestivation or papilionaceous aestivation. So here waxillary or papilionaceous aestivation is found in case of pea and bean flowers. Okay, pea and bean flowers over here. Okay, you can observe in diagram over here. They just show a very beautiful manner of aestivation because they have other parts that is called as standard, wings and keel. The biggest and the largest part over here is called as standard petal or standard sepal or petal. Okay, that is called as standard aestivation. Okay, and then the standard consists of wing-like arrangement that is called as wings, and wings are in turn joined with the smaller hole called as keel. Okay, so this kind of aestivation is seen in case of pea and bean flowers, and this is addressed to waxillary aestivation. Okay, waxillary aestivation, you can see it consists of standard, the largest margin. Okay, it covers the wings. Okay, and then it consists of the wings, the smaller. Okay, and the much smallest is called as keel. Okay, so this is all about aestivation. Okay, so now we have covered from the parts of flower, we have covered calyx and corolla, and then we saw aestivation, that is arrangement of calyx and corolla on the floral bud is called as aestivation. And in case of aestivation, we have seen that aestivation are of 4 types: valvate, twisted, imbricate and waxillary aestivation. Okay, this is all about today's class. My next class will be about different part of the flower, that is androecium and gynoecium. Is it clear? So I hope it is clear to each and every one of you. If you have any doubts, you can clarify anytime. Until then, keep watching our videos and be in touch with us. Thank you.